clown.
Yeah.
He's a clown. But I know that Jake can't fight.
Can't
So
fight.
he can't fight.
Started the rigged fights rumor. He's the one that started the steroids rumor. So
Yeah, he did have all of us thinking that you was rigging those fights, though. I ain't gonna lie, he right about that.
but how did you
How could he
honestly
rig a
believe
fight?
that? You honestly believe that?
I wanted to believe it when you fought Woodley.
You know, but me, I'm gonna speak my mind and I'm just gonna keep it 100, man. Jake Paul is fugazi. He's fake. That's how you feel.
The world of professional boxing has always been a theater of the absurd. But the era we find ourselves in now, dominated by the polarizing figure Jake Paul, has pushed the sport into a full-blown identity crisis. What started as a viral curiosity has evolved into a multi-million-dollar industry that threatens to upend a century of tradition. To understand where we are in 2026, we have to look back at the scorched earth Paul has left in his wake and the chorus of legendary voices that have finally decided to speak out.
Jake Paul had a very healthy fear for his life while he was in there, and he was moving as such. He was staying away from him. He was running away. He was trying to get distance. Then he was trying to step in to win this athletic competition, and then he's trying to get out of the way so that he doesn't get hurt again. I mean, he was fighting. Then it turns to where he can't stay away anymore. So now he's got to go the other way. He's got to go forward. So now he's clinched him. Now he's dropping down to his knees. He's going below the waist. He's getting to double leg positions. He was fighting. These guys were Jake was fighting for his survival, and you could so see it. You could see this animal who's been caged and is just trying to make it through, not even kill its prey, just make it through. And it was incredible. It was really incredible. So on the back end, some of the comments that I made or that I had heard were so confusing to me. It was a very good competition. I will tell you, it breaks my heart too that Anthony Joshua can't get him out of there in one round. Dave Portnoy had made a comment before the fight. He said, I like Jake. I wish well for Jake. Of course I'm taking Joshua. And then Portnoy made his point. And he said, because I believe in boxing. This isn't if I'm cheering for Jake or if I think that Joshua's more experienced or better. I believe in I believe boxing's real. If boxing is an actual sport, if it is an actual sweet science, then of course a guy that's done it 11 times can.
The tension reached a boiling point when Gervonta Tank Davis, one of the most feared punchers in the game, decided to stop playing nice. Davis didn't just offer the standard pre-fight trash talk. He launched a surgical strike against Paul's entire existence in the ring. Calling him a clown and fugazi, Davis voiced the internal monologue of almost every championship-level fighter. The argument is simple. Paul isn't a boxer.
Anyone who believes that narrative, it's like, come on, it's a federal crime. It's illegal. Like, and you think Anderson Silva's gonna lose? You think Woodley's gonna take a fall? You guys, you know these guys.
Yeah, no, I didn't think Anderson would take a fall, but
you think
why are you passing me?
But people think the Mike Tyson fight's rigged. You think Mike Tyson's gonna?
No, I don't think Mike Tyson would ruin his. Why are you putting out glizzies?
Don't ever disrespect him talking about fake fights.
You want one of these glizzies?
No, but I'm genuinely interested in the people. I try to understand, like.
No, everybody's saying Mike Tyson pulled his punches.
I try to understand dumb people because I can't relate. Like, I really genuinely spend parts of my day like trying to like see people online and like think like, how could someone be so dumb? And I still don't get it.
No, I think
he's a manufacturer of moments. He picks his opponents like a shopper looking for manager specials, guys who are either past their prime, significantly smaller, or coming from an entirely different discipline. When Davis speaks, the boxing world listens because his credibility is written in the blood and sweat of the Baltimore gyms. He argues that Paul's success depends entirely on controlled conditions. In a
whip, rig, this, that, and the other. Do you think now, at the very least, that talk goes away? Broke his jaw, went in there against Anthony Joshua. At the very least, do you think that you guys can move on from that? Like, that won't follow you?
No, I don't. I actually, our lawyers are actively going after a number of people. One who claims to be a lawyer himself online. I don't remember the name or the handle, but it was something that had like 200,000 likes. And basically this post said there was an agreement for AJ not to knock out Jake, but AJ disregarded the agreement and decided to not get his payday but knock out Jake Paul. So it's pretty astonishing what people say. Your dear friend Lou DiBella, saw him put up a bunch of ridiculous things and even said, Nikisa, go ahead and sue me. But this wasn't a real fight. He was pulling punches. He wasn't giving it his full effort.
And so for the people, again, just to clear this up, because I asked Eddie this question, I'll ask you the exact same question. Once and for all, was there any sort of arrangement as far as it should go this many rounds? Because that's the one that I've heard. Oh, Anthony agreed to 3 rounds, 4 rounds. Can you tell us in black and white if there were any talks of any kind between the network, the promotion, the fighter?
There has never once in Jake Paul's career been any talk of that sort, of anything to do with the fight being anything but a real fight that has exactly the same situation as any professional fight. And that's exactly the same thing here for the Anthony Joshua fight. It's just beyond mind-blowing that people would think that. Anthony Joshua was on record saying that if he didn't finish him in the first round, that would be disappointing, that it would be a failure. The narrative changed as we got closer to fight night and obviously post-fight, and I understand why, but they were pretty adamant.
World without scripts, without carefully managed rehydration clauses, and without the protective bubble of social media hype, the problem child would be exposed in minutes. This sentiment was echoed by former champion Tim Bradley, who dismantled Paul's resume with the precision of a ringside judge. Bradley's critique cuts deep because it highlights the fundamental unfairness of the current system.
I can't knock your hustle when you built something outside of boxing and you say, hey, yo, I'm coming over here to the sport now and I'm gonna pick and choose who I fight. Y'all come follow me. If they follow him, man, I just understand what it is. I know what I'm looking at. You're not gonna fool me over here, save that stuff for them other people, because I'm not gonna believe that I'm the face of, no, you're not the face of boxing. I'm not giving you that because that's for a lifer.
But that's what he believes.
That's cool, I can't knock him for that. People believe a lot of things for a lot of different reasons. I'm just saying, you can do all the rah-rah stuff, that's your business. But I just know what I'm looking at, right? But on the monetary side and it being an event, the truth is, that when he does fight, it does bring attention around the sport. People debate, they argue, people want to see the fight. Is it legit?
While thousands of young fighters are currently getting their faces rearranged in dark gyms for $500 purses, Paul has bypassed a brutal apprenticeship of the sport to sit at the head of the table. The debate over whether these fights are rigged has become the background noise of Paul's career. Paul himself has become increasingly defensive, often citing the illegality of fight fixing as his primary shield. He argues that rigging a fight is a federal crime, and therefore, it's impossible. However, critics like Ryan Garcia suggest that the manipulation is more subtle than a fixed outcome. Garcia has hinted at contractual clauses that don't necessarily dictate a winner, but certainly control the intensity. We're talking about no knockout agreements or gentlemen's agreements regarding how aggressive an opponent can be in the early rounds. Perhaps the most significant moment in this saga was a matchup with Anthony Joshua. For the first time, Paul stepped into the ring with a world-class heavyweight who was still in his physical prime. The result was a brutal reality check, a broken jaw, and a knockout that left Paul unconscious. On one hand, this served as the ultimate proof for those who claim the fights aren't rigged. After all, no promoter would script their golden goose to get his jaw shattered on live television. However, the aftermath created a new rift in the media. Analysts like Ariel Helwani saw a moral victory in Paul surviving 6 rounds with a giant like Joshua. On the other side, Luke Thomas argued that we shouldn't be handing out participation trophies to a man who had no business being in that ring in the first place. This divide illustrates the core of the Jake Paul problem. It's easy to criticize from the sidelines, but as Daniel Cormier pointed out, $100 million is enough to make almost anyone consider stepping into the ring. This is the golden handcuffs of the Jake Paul era. It puts legitimate fighters in an impossible position. Do they take the money and risk their reputation being permanently tarnished by the Jake Paul circus? Or do they stay true to the sport and potentially miss out on the biggest payday of their lives? Deontay Wilder has observed that this trend is creating a toxic rivalry within the sport. We are seeing a divide between fighters who want to be champions and fighters who want to be influencers. The concern is that if the influencer model becomes the most profitable path, the incentive for young athletes to pursue genuine mastery of the craft will vanish. Why spend 15 years learning how to parry a jab when you can spend 15 months learning how to go viral? As we stand here in 2026, the problem child remains the most talked about figure in the sport, but the walls are closing in. The knockout by Anthony Joshua stripped away the aura of invincibility, and the constant barrage of criticism from the boxing elite has made it harder for the general public to take these spectacles seriously. The sport is at a crossroads. On one side is a path of pure entertainment, loud, colorful, and highly profitable, but ultimately hollow. On the other side is a path of tradition, disciplined, respectful, and merit-based, but often struggling to capture the attention of a younger generation. Jake Paul didn't create this divide, but he certainly exposed it. The reality is that Paul is a mirror. He reflects the current state of our culture, where attention is the ultimate currency, and looking the part is often more valuable than being the part. Whether he eventually leaves the sport as a footnote or a transformer remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. The conversation he started about the integrity, value, and future of boxing is far from over. The problem child may have learned how to throw a punch, but he has yet to prove he can survive the scrutiny of a sport that has no room for scripts when the bell finally rings. The legends have spoken, the contract has been leaked, and the jaw has been broken. Now, it's up to the fans to decide if they're watching a new era of boxing or just the most expensive reality show in history. The narrative that Paul has earned his place through hard work is often used by his supporters to justify his positions on major cards. And while no one can deny his work ethic in the gym, work ethic is not a substitute for the years of competitive seasoning that define a professional. You can work hard a flight simulator, but that doesn't make you a pilot capable of landing a 747 in a storm. In boxing, the storm is a fighter like Gervonta Davis or Anthony Joshua, and as we've seen, no amount of training in a private facility can prepare a YouTuber for the level of violence a true professional can dish out. Ultimately, the Jake Paul experiment has been a fascinating look into the power of the attention economy. It has proven that if you have a loud enough voice and a big enough checkbook, you can force the world to watch you do anything, even something as dangerous and sacred as boxing. But as the 2026 season continues, the novelty is wearing thin, and the clowns and frauds that the elite once whispered about are now being shouted from the rooftops. I've spent quite a bit of time analyzing the impact of influencer culture on traditional industries, and this boxing saga is perhaps the most visceral example we have. It's a clash of values that transcends the ring. Would you like me to dive deeper into the specific contract clauses Ryan Garcia mentioned, or perhaps analyze the financial impact Jake Paul has had on the PPV numbers for traditional boxers?